in a small African village, surrounded by dusty roads and quiet clay houses, there lived a young miniature girl named Tina. Tina was known for one thing, her tiny kitchen. It was so small that most people in the village didn't take it seriously. Some even laughed when they saw it. "Look at that little kitchen," one villager said one afternoon. "What kind of food can come out of something that small?" Another added, shaking his head. Tina heard them, but she said nothing. She simply smiled and continued her work. Every day, she cleaned her small kitchen, arranged her pots neatly, and prepared her ingredients carefully, because to Tina, her kitchen was not small, it was enough. One hot afternoon, a group of farmers returned from the fields earlier than usual. The sun had been harsh that day, their clothes were dusty, their faces tired, and their energy almost gone. They had worked for hours, without food. "I am too hungry," one of them said, sitting by the roadside. "We should have brought something to eat," another replied weakly. Tina stood quietly by her kitchen and watched them. Her heart felt heavy. She knew they were hungry. She knew they needed help. But then she remembered something. Those same people had laughed at her kitchen. She looked down for a moment, then she looked up again, and smiled. "Food is food," she whispered to herself, "and hunger is hunger." Without wasting time, Tina went inside her tiny kitchen. She brought out fresh yam, tomatoes, onions, peppers, and eggs. Her movements were calm, confident, and focused. She began by peeling the yam carefully, removing the thick brown skin. Then she cut it into large pieces and placed them into a clay pot filled with water. Soon, the pot sat on her small charcoal stove. The fire began to burn. Slowly, the water started to boil. While the yam cooked, Tina prepared the egg sauce. She chopped the tomatoes, onions, and peppers into small pieces. The colors filled her tiny kitchen with life. Red, green, white. She heated oil in a small frying pan. The onions went in first, sizzling gently. Then the tomatoes and peppers followed. A rich aroma began to rise. The smell slowly drifted outside. Back on the roadside, one of the farmers lifted his head. "Do you smell that?" he asked. Another nodded slowly. "That smells really good." Inside the kitchen, Tina cracked fresh eggs into the bubbling sauce. She stirred gently, mixing everything together. The sauce became thick, rich, and full of flavor. Meanwhile, the yam had become soft and ready. Steam rose from the pot as she removed it from the fire. She arranged the soft yam on a wooden tray. Then, she added the egg sauce beside it. The meal looked simple, but it looked perfect. Outside, the smell had grown stronger. The farmers stood up, curious. Slowly, they followed the aroma. Step by step, it led them to Tina's tiny kitchen. They stopped at the entrance. Surprised, the same kitchen they had laughed at was now filled with the most delicious smell they had ever noticed. Tina looked up and saw them standing there. She smiled gently. "You are welcome," she said. They looked at each other, unsure. One of them spoke. We were just passing by." Tina nodded. "I know," she said softly. "You look hungry." There was a moment of silence. Then, she added, "I made food. Please, come and eat." They hesitated. Not because they didn't want to eat, but because they remembered what they had said before. Still, hunger spoke louder. Slowly, they stepped inside. Tina served them the warm yam and egg sauce. They sat down and began to eat. The first bite, silence. Then one of them looked up, shocked. "This is delicious!" Another nodded quickly. "This is one of the best meals I've had." They ate faster now, smiling, laughing, forgetting their tiredness, forgetting the heat, forgetting everything, except the food. Tina stood quietly in the corner, watching them, satisfied, not proud, just happy. After they finished eating, one of the farmers stood up. He looked at Tina, then at her tiny kitchen, and then back at her again. "We were wrong," he said honestly. "We laughed at your kitchen." He paused. "But today, it fed us." The others nodded in agreement. Tina smiled softly. "My kitchen is small," she said, "but what matters is what comes out of it." The men looked around again. This time, they were not laughing. They were impressed. From that day on, no one in the village laughed at Tina's tiny kitchen again. Instead, they respected it, because they had learned something important. Never judge something by its size, because sometimes, the smallest place can produce the greatest value.